4 right angles and 4 equal sides. That's the definition of a square. Now, your picture, I know that's not perfect, right? But it's the markings that make a quadrilateral something more specific. So in order to make that a square, I have to mark 4 equal sides. And then the 4 right angles, I put those little boxes in the corners to show right angles. The definition of a rectangle is simply a quadrilateral with 4 right angles. Okay? A quadrilateral with 4 right angles is a rectangle. Go ahead and draw a picture in there. And by the way, my picture disappears after every time I have to click on a new definition. But again, to define a rectangle, all you would do is draw the 4 right angles. You don't have to know anything about the sides as far as the definition goes. Although it is true that opposite sides are equal. Your drawing for it, what James was talking about, would look something like that. Okay? Kind of a leaning rectangle. And I show something's parallel by using that kind of little arrow, the fins through it. Top side and bottom side are parallel. Left side and right side are parallel. That's a parallelogram. It has both pairs of opposite sides parallel. A rhombus has 4 equal sides. To show that, you're just going to mark the sides. Okay? A trapezoid has at least 1 pair of parallel sides. Okay, that's it. 1 pair of parallel sides. So a lot of times what they end up looking like is something like this. Nothing is equal. It's just that you have 1 pair of parallel sides in the trapezoid. So an isosceles trapezoid, when you draw it, got to have that pair of parallel sides, which is rather difficult to do on the iPad. But then these angles down here need to also be congruent, giving it that Pizza Hut sign look. Okay, because what it also ends up making true, those base angles being congruent, is that these sides are congruent as well. Those non-base, non-parallel sides are also equal. Okay, so that's an isosceles trapezoid. A kite has 2 consecutive pairs of congruent sides. Consecutive means back to back. They're touching. Okay, so what would it look like for our drawing? Well, it would look like sides that touch, and those should touch. Sides that touch are equal. And then you have another pair of sides that touch that are also equal to each other. It looks like a kite. Okay. Bases are parallel sides of a trapezoid. Anytime you have parallel sides, they may be on the top and the bottom, they may be on the left and the right, they may be neither left or right or top or bottom, but if they're parallel, they will be referred to as bases. Okay, so know that. And then finally, base angles are just angles the angles that make up the endpoints of the base. Okay, so for example, if I have a figure, it needs to have parallel lines. We'll go with an isosceles trapezoid. Alright, there's my 2 bases. They're on the top and the bottom in this case because those are the parallel sides. The base angles are the angles that make up the endpoints of the base. I have base angles there, and I also have base angles here because technically the top is a base as well, and those are the endpoints of the top. Okay? So just a little bit of vocabulary. And then we're going to jump over to the quadrilateral hierarchy. Alright, so we are now recording. Right, Tiffany, that would be a trapezoid. Very good. Alright, coming down from trapezoid, we need something that has 1 pair of parallel sides but is more specific. So I'm going to come down this way, and I want to know what type of quadrilateral would go underneath trapezoid to the right side. And I've got James. What do you got?
I don't know.
Katie?
Isosceles trapezoid?
That would be an isosceles trapezoid. Because an isosceles trapezoid does have 1 pair of parallel sides, but it has that equal set of base angles as well. I ran out of room right there. All right, something that's also a trapezoid over here, because it has one pair of parallel sides, would be what? Travis, do you know what goes there?
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell me. Jewel, help me out. What'd go right there? Kaylee. That is a parallelogram. Very good. And I want to point out again. Hey, Paul. What are your questions about that and why and how and all that jazz? And how to read it? If you are below something, that means you are also that thing. So a square is a rectangle, is an isosceles trapezoid, is a trapezoid. A square is a parallelogram. A square is a rhombus. A square is a kite. A square is a quadrilateral.
And I'm an overpass.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but yes. Jewel, what was your question? A rhombus is what? Is a rhombus a square? No, you don't go down. A rhombus is a kite. Is a rhombus anything else? It's a parallelogram. Is a rhombus a trapezoid?
Yes.
Yeah, you can go up and through something. Is a rhombus an isosceles trapezoid?
No.
No, two ways to answer that.
No.
A rhombus has 4 equal sides. Is it going to have base angles that are congruent like an isosceles trapezoid? Well, to get to it, you got to go up, then down, then up. Can't go down. It's not.
So would it be a rectangle?
A rhombus is not a rectangle. Nope. And if you think about it, in order to be a rectangle, it'd have to have 4 right angles. Well, a rhombus doesn't have 4 right angles. Okay? So,